Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr., and welcome to Ministry Moments. Lord willing, every Friday at 3 o'clock Central Time. I said Eastern Time a few weeks ago. I probably messed everybody up, but 3 o'clock Central Time. And this is not just for pastors or preachers or evangelists or full-time ministry workers. This is for everybody. These are just good, solid, practical points that will help any Christian, help any ministry, and some things I think that'll will stop the cause of a lot of ill will and disturbances and so on that just ought not to be. We fuss too much about things that could be easily resolved. But anyway, that's my little sermonette, or Christianettes who smoke cigarettes. But anyway, let me give you some ministry moments on with money, ministry mistakes with money. And I'll start my 49th year next year. And I constantly am trying to help pastors and churches, and especially young churches. I love to be with young pastors and young preachers and young churches and try to help them, get them a leg up on what they're doing. So we learn from all the mistakes, don't we? And I remember Brother Howe said one time, somebody asked me for help. I don't tell them what to do. I tell them what I did, because I don't want to experiment with their future and their ministry. And I think it's a very wise counsel. So let me give you some ministry mistakes with money. And at the end of the program, you forgot to remind me last week. I didn't, but if you'll stick around, and after the program today, then I have an announcement I want to give you. So ministry mistakes with money. Are you ready, boys and girls? Here we go. Number one, no voted on budget. Every year we would have the church, we'd give out a budget and they would vote on it. But mistakes that people make is not having a voted on budget, because that's the law. That's the law of the Medes and the Persians, if you please. You've got to be able to say, I'm authorized to do what I'm doing. So a church votes on a budget. Pastor has the budget, gives it to the bookkeeping department, and then we stay inside of that budget because that's our authority to spend the money that's brought in. Number two, I'm talking about mistakes now that are made. Open church charge accounts around town. Open church charge accounts around town. When I first came to Texas in 1980, there were charge accounts all over town. And so we had to bring those in. We had to reel those in. That's what I was trying to think of. But we had to shut those things down, because anybody and everybody that worked down there, whether they're up at the bus barn or wherever they might be, just go out and just charge, and we wouldn't know how much we owe. There's a dear friend of mine who pastored in Memphis, Tennessee, one time had $10,000 of charges that were made by the athletic department, because they had a big Christian school. And before they knew it, it got out of hand. They didn't realize what was going on. So no voted on budget, that's a mistake. Open church charge accounts around town, that's a mistake. Number three, a purchase order system. No purchase order system. If you have no purchase order system, then you have no way of what we did. Of course, we're old school, you understand. We pencil deducted every purchase order. So we would authorize the purchase of something. The business, the vendor, would take the purchase order, write it down, and so that they knew that we had given authority for them to go ahead and get that item. Well, it was already pencil deducted. So if somebody came in with 3 purchase orders in the same day, then we did not get ourselves in trouble by overspending. Purchase order kept us right in line, pencil deduct from the budget. If you got a $100 budget and somebody rings in a $100 PO, all right, that's good. Suppose somebody slips in a little bit later during the day and says, I need to get $50 more for the buses or whatever it might be. Now you can't, because you've already got a PO out there for $100. And so you can't deduct something you don't have. So it protects. So no voted on budget. Open charge accounts or church charge accounts around town. Number three, no PO, no purchase order. Number four, counting offerings during church. You have men that do that, and they go to a count room and the preaching's going on and they're counting the offering, they're going to backslide. They need preaching. Everybody needs preaching. And so they're going to backslide. So you don't want to count the offerings during church. Next, Um, no, no odd number in the count room. There needs to be an odd number in the count room. Don't have 2, have 3. Don't have 4, have 5. Be sure there's an odd number in that count room. Next, talk about mistakes now that are made. No rotating of the count room people. No rotating. Don't have the same people every week count the money. Don't do that. You after church is over, you go to the count room. There are people who are signed to be in the count room for that particular month, and then they rotate off. That way, it keeps people from being tempted to do some things they shouldn't do. Next, no signed forms from the count room. Everybody needs to sign at the bottom of the form. The money's counted. We balanced everything out, and give that to the financial secretary. And somebody from the financial department needs to be in that room while they're counting too. Next, no qualified bookkeeper. You don't let your wife handle the books. And preacher, don't you handle the books. Get you a bookkeeper. Somebody, if you don't have any, get you an accountant in town. Get you a CPA in town. They're not going to charge you an arm and a leg. And they'll be glad to help you. And you pay them, of course, naturally. But I suggest Mrs. Ayers was 15 years with the telephone company. She had experience. And so she and her ladies, she had 3 ladies work for her. She's a qualified bookkeeper. Next, pastor and wife on accounts. That's a mistake. No, I didn't care what the account was. When I came in, they said, Pastor, you got to sign this, 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 and this. I said, I'm not. I'm just not going to do it. We'll have the financial lady do it. We'll have the deacons do it, but I'm not going to do it. I don't want anybody to point their finger at me and say, we've got money missing. Your name's on those accounts. No, I'm not going to do that to me. I'm not going to have it. I'm talking about ministry mistakes with money. Now, no voted on budget. You have authorization. Church gives you that. Open charge accounts around town. That's a mistake. No purchase order system. That's a mistake. Counting offerings during church. That's a mistake. No odd number in the count room. That's a mistake. Don't have 2, have 3. Don't have 4, have 5. Odd number. No rotating the count room every month. Rotate them out. Put somebody new in there to keep from being tempted to do something they shouldn't do. No signed forms of the count room. Everybody in that count room needs to sign out that they were there through the whole process. No qualified bookkeeper. You've got to have somebody that understands books and keeping of books. And maybe they're not an accountant, but a good bookkeeper will make a difference. If you don't have, get you a CPA outside of the church. Pastor and wife on accounts. That's a big mistake. You don't want to put yourself in a position where they're pointing a finger at you and say you've mishandled money. You can't. If you're not on it, you can't mishandle it. No dual signatures in the account room. On checks. No dual signatures on checks. Anytime you have a surplus account, that money's put in there. A check is drawn from that to meet the budget. So that every week surplus goes up and down like that, but the budget, the operating budget stays the same. And so no dual signatures on checks. Now, when the checks are written from the operating expense, you've got to have dual signatures. That way, not one person runs it. We've got 2. That's for safety. That's to protect you. No prepayment on mortgages. That's a mistake. You can reduce your mortgage. We started out $1 a head. That's how we started out. And every Friday a check was written. It was deducted from the principal. Well, that cuts the interest down. We got it up to $2,000 a week one time, cutting it down. Do you realize how much that money that saves in interest that you pay? And it cuts the length of the mortgage from 15 years down to 7 if you do it right. You can amortize your debt. There are programs you can get to show if I put in $100 a week, take it off the principal, what will that do to the length of the mortgage, and what will it do to the interest paid to the bank? So I would make sure I amortize my debt so that I could prepay, put some money in there every week, and oh my goodness, it'll make all the difference in the world. I'm not suggesting you be debt free. Never. We need to be challenged all the time, but it should never be over 25% of your budget for debt retirement. Well, I hope it helped. I'll see you again on Friday, and 3 o'clock each Friday, Lord willing, Central Time, Ministry Moments. And I have some wonderful news for you. I've got a new book coming out, The Lost Commandment, and I'll give you a special on that as soon as we hear from the printers and the publishers, Berean Publications. By the way, that's the place to go to get books, BereanPublications.com. That's the place to go. And so you just hang tight, and I'll give you some word on it and give you a chance to pre-order that book, The Lost Commandment. It is a great book, and it'll be of tremendous help to you. Now, have a great weekend of soul winning. Get the gospel out, get people saved, and lead people to Christ. Get them lined up for church on Sunday, and have a great, great weekend. Join us every Friday now, 3 o'clock Central Time, for Ministry Moments. God bless you. Have a great week.